Kia ora, it's Ruth here and welcome to my backyard in Christchurch. If you haven't seen it already, this is part 2 of just showing you around my garden for the end of March. So check out part 1 so you can see what's happening in that part of the garden. Now I'm here. You might be wondering to start off what this is, why I have this. This is the end of a tomato, and so this is what I just wanted to start with my Shed Wars tip and trick, is making sure you do plant your tomatoes deep. So it's really hard when you start, when you've got this tomato that's growing and you want to plant it with just the roots in to keep the head height. This one I planted so that only the top few leaves are above the ground and there's about this much under, plus the roots. Look how long this is. You can't really go wrong with summer needing to water tomatoes when they're reaching down that far for water, which has meant the plant had done really well. It's out now because it's the end of the season and it did die and finish up, and I've still got a few tomato plants in. But when I was pulling this out, I was just so happy to see that even though it kind of feels like you're sacrificing some of the tomato plant to start, it is well worth it. So tip and trick, do plant your tomatoes deep even if it feels hard to do. So now that I've done that, I'll take you around the rest of this garden. Starting down here, we've got our kale. This one's been doing really well. It's got a few bits of whitefly, but not as much compared to another one I've got. That one's just succumbed to chicken food now. This one's doing well. We've got our carrots, again, needing a bit of thinning, but that's okay. Carrots always need a little bit of thinning around here. Beans, these ones have still got some little ones coming on. They're still flowering, but we'll just see how they go as they get cooler. Always a few that I forget to pick. Got our cleanser in the middle, and some of our beetroot at the end, which are going really well. We're going to be bottling some of these soon, which is very exciting. Weeds, but that's okay. Over here, hello, see my shadow? These are all gone. Before we had our sweet peas on there and they gave us a really good run, but they just looked really tatty and I just could not believe how amazing it looked as soon as they came off. And the great thing about sweet peas is it's about now that we need to plant the seeds for next year. Last year I just ended up doing it in one hit because I planted a whole lot of seeds, didn't really expect them all to take. They all did, so I never thought of doing a part 2. But if you succession plant them, as with anything in the garden, you get a display for longer. So that's my hope this time, is plant less seeds and then plant a few more. Again, we'll see when baby comes. I'll just kind of go with the flow. In the glass house, things are going well. We've got the end of our tomatoes. And something I learnt from a wonderful neighbour that I just met, why the tops of the tomatoes are green and the bottoms are red. You may know this already, but my first year with a glass house, I'm learning so much. And it's because it's getting too much sun. It's called green tops, and it's that there's so much sun, it's so good in here for the sun, that the bottoms ripen and the tops actually never ripen that well. And so the suggestion, which I've seen people do, is white out the top or cover the top for next year so that you still get the warmth, you still get some of the light, but not as much. So we'll see how that goes. So these tomatoes I've been still harvesting, but they're definitely starting to get to the end of their life. So these will be coming out as soon as we get a few more of them ripen. Got a few more basil plants down the bottom, as well as some wonderful weeds. They're okay. Now this is what's interesting, is our eggplant. That's the kind of colour, maybe a little bit brighter than what it should be, and well, should get brighter. But here, it's got a couple on it that look more like unripe tomatoes. Not sure why. The other plants don't have any left on, so these will be coming out soon. But yeah, this one's interesting. So we'll see what it's like when we go to taste it. We've got one more capsicum over here. We've got a cucumber that never cucumbered. Oh look, see, these ones are looking good as well. And then down here, we've got a few more chilies, which is very nice. We used our puni recipe to make chili jam, and it's been brilliant. So we've been enjoying that, and I'm looking forward to making the next batch. Up here, we've got some pansy seeds, a couple more kohlrabi to plant, a whole heap of beetroot, a few lettuce. None of the purple sprouting broccoli came up, which is interesting. Some Nero kale, curly kale, tatsoi, spinach is just starting, as well as giant pansies and some cornflowers. All of these were planted in February, didn't do any seed planting in March. So that's also why I didn't do a garden plan, because I've just done nothing. So definitely need to get these out sooner than later. And that's just what's going on in the glass house at the moment. So we'll see. My plan for actually the rest of these gardens is, rather than starting the seeds in there, my preference is starting seeds in seed raising trays And the reason for that is then I know what's growing and I can space them when I'm planting them in the garden, and also because I use the pea straw, it covers where the seeds are and it suppresses weeds well, also suppresses seeds. But just for ease, my plan is once I've pulled out a whole lot of things, just to scatter all the different seeds and see what grows. They'll grow tight, but you know what? It'll be all in the fun of it. So around here, we've got more beans. Again, coming to end of season, everything's looking a little bit worse for wear. But we're still getting some good beans off it, which is fantastic. Love the butter beans. Got some beetroot growing in the front here. Got some carrots. Got the last of our zucchinis. We've been pulling out some of those plants because they're getting powdery mildew. You can see the pile there that needs to get gone. Here are our scarlet runners. We've enjoyed having these ones a lot. And again, end of season, leaves are starting to go and I've got a little bit lazy. We've got a few good sized beans and then a few absolute monsters, which when they get this size, the beans are way too big and tough and they're just yuck. So I'm just leaving them on there for some seeds. The great thing to know about scarlet runners is their roots last for a couple of years in the ground. So the ones on this side actually didn't plant any seeds this year. They're the roots that were left from last year and they just sprang up on their own. These ones we planted. So next year, when these are all gone, I'll just chop them off at the bottom, leave the roots in, and then they'll pop up again, which makes gardening super easy, anything with that. Over behind them is tomatoes. These are our tiny cherry tomatoes, which have been fun, but I think for next year I'll want ones that are a little bit bigger, just because you need to pick a lot of them to do anything with, but they're kind of like our little lollies. Over here, more of our nasturtiums, our random wildflowers, our rhubarb, which has been wonderful for making rhubarb and apple. Now this is the one that is our giant kale. It is awesome, but is also covered in whitefly a whole lot more. So this is the one, which the girls know when I come near it. I grab a couple of leaves and the girls get to have a good feed, which they always love. Our sunflowers definitely coming to the end as well, but I've collected some good seeds from them. If we look around here, more beetroot. These are the cylinder ones, so they grow long, which is fantastic for using for bottling. Beans, kale. These ones are stripped from the girls being out yesterday, but it's okay because we've got enough in other parts of the garden. And then we've got some lettuce, some which the netting is too close and so the wild birds have been getting through it, and then a bit of spinach at the back. But I'm looking forward to now that it's getting cooler, I can really get my spinach going. I'm always trying to grow spinach over summer, thinking especially this garden here, it gets a lot of shade, so I'm like, I can kind of trick it into thinking it's cooler. Never really works, which is annoying because in summer I want salads with spinach in, but they just don't grow. That's okay. So this is what's happening in these gardens for the next, I don't know, we'll see when baby comes, see how much we get done. My plan is to just scatter some seeds, some spinach, some lettuce, some carrots, just some of the, I guess some normal winter ones, maybe some more brassica seeds just to see how they go. And then from there some coriander as well, because coriander is a winter grow and we love coriander. But yeah, that's what's going on. But also what I've noticed is when there are plants that you let go to seed, they do self-seed as well. So if down here there is a whole lot of brassicas, which is most likely kale because of, here's the seeds, because of what was up here before. Oh look, and you can see there's actually some kale growing still on it. So these probably are all kale, which I can transplant and I'll have plenty, so I don't really need any more kale seed. I just need to put the time into actually doing it. So over the next couple of days I'm planning to get into the garden a bit more. We'll see how it goes, but apparently squatting and bending and that's really good for bringing on babies, so we'll see what happens. I will catch you next time in another video, hopefully with the baby on the outside, not on the inside. Ka kite.